Hey everyone, it's Chaz. We're going through, or at least you're going through, our GMB specialist training course. We got to get this video out there because we just went through a major maps update in November, and I want to keep this course fresh and current. And I want to be covering the things that you're going to be encountering when you're out there optimizing your listings. So this November 19th GMB update. This video is going to help you traverse some of the common issues that we've been seeing, what other members of the local SEO community has been seeing as well. And then I'm going to try to put together an action plan. It's very simple, but it's effective, and it should help you. You know, if you have listings that are affected by it, it'll show you what to look for, and then give you some ideas on how to recover those. But let's just dive into it now. So, the background on this update. This was a local maps update. It rolled out at the beginning of November. So we're tracking it right around November 1st and November 2nd is when it really hit in the USA, and it rolled out throughout that week. And then it looks like other countries also have a rollout after that date as well. So that's the time frame we're looking at on this. If you suffered ranking or visibility losses, be sure to check if your dates correspond to the first week in November if you're a USA business or have a USA listing. It'll help you identify what the issues are and pinpoint that. So if you had a ranking decrease or visibility decrease, it was because of this update, right? It's described as the most significant update since Possum in 2016. And some tests are claiming that the average visibility for a listing has shrunk by 50%. And I think that test was put out by, Search Engine, I'd like to say maybe Search Engine Land or Search Engine Journal. One of those had a study in it where literally they showed about a 50% reduction in local visibility for GMB listings. Now, I don't know if that's super accurate across all niches. I don't personally think it was, but I think a lot of what people were affected by was some other things that we've identified, and not so much as just, this update didn't just come out and say suddenly everybody's visibility is 50% less. What this update did was it refreshed certain things, and the things that we saw was, looks like they're, potentially addressing some issues with GMB naming. Looks like they've refreshed the Possum filter. Looks like age is even more important now for your listing, or possibly authority. So there's other things that have come into play, and that's what you're seeing the flux on. So saying that's I'm going to show you just a couple of accounts that we're tracking. Now we're tracking a whole lot. These are a couple that I just grabbed some screenshots through, some before and afters. These had virtually nothing done to them during this period. So all these that we're tracking are kind of just sitting there. This one you can see didn't have a whole lot of decreases in the center part, but it definitely did go down. And the visibility did shrink, especially around these outer perimeters. But it wasn't by 50%, definitely. But definitely some shrinkage there. This is another one that we're looking at. Now, this one had more. And you can see that this one did shrink a decent bit. This is the before. It had pretty darn good visibility. And now afterwards, in this outer peripheral area, definitely had major shrinkage there. This is one where when we went in and looked at the SERPS, we saw listings that seemed like they were older listings that were literally, they were unoptimized. It looked like they were created a long time ago. Somebody just never really optimized them. And then I'm not even sure if they're still active or not, but they're now popped in. So that leads us to when I said about age or maybe authority being a bigger factor. I'm thinking it's more age, but that kind of shows this. The next one we're looking at here is, again, saw some decent amount of shrinkage of visibility across the main area. Again, definitely was affected by the update. And again, this was more previously filtered listings have come back. Definitely hit this one. So here's what I saw. These are the 3 points that I'm seeing from this update. The first and foremost is listings that have the city name have been targeted with this update. Specifically seeing this affect listings where the city is at the end of the listing name. So if you just append the city to your listing, it could have a detrimental effect on it. And if you have listings where this was, it definitely could have been hit. Now, are all of them filtered? No. It does look like there is a filter with it, but it's not affecting them all equally. And it looks like the denominator there possibly could be listing age or listing authority as to how affected you're going to be by that. I haven't really seen it affect anything where the city name was just kind of in the GMB name naturally, rather than just stuck at the end. So if it came even at the beginning, I didn't really see that being a factor. So that leads us on how, if you do get hit with it and you have this commonality there, that leads you to the next step on what you can do, right? I don't think I have to state it, but now you know. The next thing that we're seeing, okay, let me just go back to number 1 real quick too. We're still testing some stuff with keywords. So just appending a keyword to the name, that also looks like it might be triggering some type of filter effect if you just stick it on the end of the listing name. Or if you have a listing where it's just stuck on, you could potentially filter yourself for certain keywords. And again, not on every listing, we're not seeing overwhelming filters. Some filters are more keyword specific. Like if you stick the city on, you might only filter for certain city keywords, or for like your top level keyword, which I'll show you an example. We filtered for our top level keyword, but none of the others. But there's definitely some filtering going on when it comes to GMB naming. So be careful, and make it look more natural. That's my best advice on there. I'll give you an action plan later on once you get through the video. Number 2, previously filtered listings are back and they're now doing the filtering themselves. So if you saw serious issues in rankings, go back into the SERPs, go back in, and I'll show you in a second how to do some quick searches, just so you know, and look at if there are old listings that now are in the SERPs knocking your listing out. These look like they were previously filtered. They are unfiltered now. We're also seeing them with duplicates where these were duplicates that you couldn't even find before. They're now coming back out into the SERPs every now and then, and they're wreaking havoc on the SERPs. So run through, if you got affected by the update, simply go into Google Maps, run through, do some checks on your address on the building you're in, see if there's new listings there that weren't there before, do some searches to try to see if you have dupes, see what you can find out there. And then the third thing that we're seeing is it looks like listing age seems to be more important ranking factor now than previously. I'm leaning towards age rather than just calling it authority in general. It does seem to be an age thing, especially with some of these previously filtered listings. The only thing I can see with a lot of these is the age of these old listings. They weren't strong with links or anything else. They were just old. They were previously filtered. After this update, they're unfiltered, and the only thing I can see is because it's age. And it also seems to be if your listing was dinged by keyword usage or location usage in the name, it seems like the older listings are recovering a lot quicker and faster. The more older established listings seem to recover. Those are kind of the 3 things that we're seeing with this update. So here's one that I was working on right when the update rolled out. And you can see that this was a multi-location business I was working on. And one of the things I like to do is I like to separate the GMB names so each one is a little unique. And typically the way I did it was just append the city name. And you can see I add the city name to the back of the listing here. And I did it on the 2nd, right when the update was going on. Silly me. But this was the very beginning of the update. I chose a very bad time to do it, and you can see what happened. Literally, I tanked this whole thing. How did I recover from it? I went in and I wrapped the city name in other terms. So I got rid of the hyphen and I wrapped it with other terms. I'll show you that in the action plan, and it did recover. It still might be filtered for 1 or 2 city specific keywords, but it recovered on all the big volume, like the near me terms that I was targeting as well, did recover. But it is still filtered for a couple minor terms, but did recover the major terms when I wrapped the name. So there's that. I also nudged the map pin on this one just a hair as well. Not 200 feet, just a hair, because I just wanted to, I was just playing with what I could do. I was testing. So those are the 2 things I did there to recover it. But definitely you added the city name and it took a tank. Here was one that I was working on, a different listing. Again, this was a service, not a service area, sorry, but this was a multi-location. And again, I added a city name previously. You can see it had a good effect. We come around, the update gets it, and we tank it because of that. I tested a couple other things, and you can see it. This is actually not quite accurate. We actually did recover for the majority of our keywords. It's just the way they took their average. It shows it's a little further down than what it actually is. But this listing did actually recover pretty nicely for most of my major keywords. Again, there is still some filtering in place with that city name. Specific keywords with the city name. There is still some filtering going on. That's why it looks down like this, but some of my major terms did recover. But again, city name added, was doing well, update hits, and it tanked. We wrap it, and it did actually improve a lot. There's other things going on, but we did filter for a few of our city terms here. This is this one you see is one of my test listings I use. It's an older listing I just test with. This was after I started seeing some commonalities with the city name. I actually wanted to test on a listing that I know had 0 work done to it previously. So I went into one of my old listings, which I'll show you in a second. I added the city name to it, and you can definitely see city name added. It took a tank. It did recover, and I still have the city name on it. I didn't wrap it in anything either, but it did recover on its own a few days later. And I believe it recovered just because of how old this listing is. This listing has been around for, I would like to say, 3 to 4 years in age. It's a very old listing. So we can see that. And this is the actual listing here that I'm talking about. This is how it looks still. I appended the city name. It definitely tanked it, but it did recover. But when I say it did recover, it is still filtered for a very few specific terms that it wasn't filtered for before. So definitely saw a filter there. And it had a nice recovery, but there are still a couple terms missing that didn't recover. So in local client takeover Facebook group, we see some of this stuff as well. So here's some commonalities. James said, saw a bunch of movement. Drops, then rank increases, city names dropped, then recovered. That's what I saw. Now, I did see only recovery with my older listings. Jamie says the listing that recovered was my strongest listing. It recovered naturally. His strongest listing recovered naturally. And he also says they had the city in the name. So cities in the name. Here we're coming back to the theory that old or authoritative listings will recover on their own. This is in PM. I don't want to reveal who it was, but here's another one. Somebody was in my PM. It has the city name at the end, but the GMB competitor that passed it does also. But I'm thinking age is the factor here, and not the city name is the filtering effect. Age is the factor that will help you recover or not. It's what the common factor looks like. Again, we always preface it with correlation does not equal causation, but we do like to look at the correlating factors. And then another person in PM I was talking to around this time, he had a listing filtered. Again, the common theme was he had the city name at the end of his listing. He was saying it was exact match, but it was definitely filtered for a ton of his local keywords using that city name. So city names definitely having an impact. We are maybe seeing this also with certain keywords in the name as well. Looks like they did refresh how they're monitoring keyword usage or city usage in the GMB listing name. So now we're going to move on to previously filtered listings are back in the SERPs. Here's one of mine that came back, and it's a keyword. It's a top level keyword. It's actually the keyword that my main listing that I just showed you, my old one, is still filtered for. But what I found when I went in and searched was one of my old soft suspended listings. This was a soft suspended listing that was literally for the longest time was filtered out. It's now at number 4 for this keyword, a top level keyword, and it's definitely, we're seeing this across more and more SERPs. Here's another one I'm working on. Obviously this is hidden because I don't want you to see who these are, because they're not my personal listings. But here's one that was not there before, and it came back, and it's now sitting number 2. It's a very old listing. They don't even operate there anymore, but they're at the same address as the listing that I was working on, and they definitely filtered it for a while until we unfiltered it. This is actually mine. You can see I have mine saved. This was them. I did beat them now, but when I was here, when I was underneath them, I was filtered there. Previously filtered listings, here's some stuff. So here's somebody from my PM. What he found was I had a previously old GMB with the same location office, but it had not affected it before. I deleted the info and had it deleted, and it now recovered just like that. So previously an old listing that wasn't there before, wasn't affecting it before, came back after this and now filtered it. And Tim in LCT group, he also says he's seeing a lot of these quote new listings appear in the SERPs. He thinks they were previously filtered. Again, these aren't brand new. When he's saying new in quotes, they're just new to the SERPs. They're old previously filtered listings and they're back. We're seeing this in many SERPs we're working in, and Tim and then also this gentleman here also seeing the same thing. So let's just hit this action plan. If you were affected by this November update, what do you look for? It looks like old or authority listings seem to recover most of their losses, but can still experience filtering for specific keywords. Especially if you had the city name, and we might even be seeing it with certain keyword usage as well. Adding words around the city name seems to help. So in the cases that I replaced the hyphen with a preposition and then I added the state, I saw recovery. So literally I went from company hyphen city. Now it looks like company in city state abbreviation. I literally just wrapped it and the listing did recover when I did that. Also, I would recommend nudging the map pin. It just seems to be helping. Even if there's not a possum issue, it looks like if you just nudge the map pin a little, it does help a little. Not sure why that would be, or if it's, again, it could just be correlation does not equal causation. But that would be one thing I didn't mark here. Then also, if you think you were filtered, check for undiscovered duplicate listings and correct those if you find them. And then check for new competing listings near your address. And if you need to manipulate the pin slightly to get yourself away from them. these are rampant, this is rampant, this is what we're seeing, and this is how we're recovering from it. Let me know. Let me just run in here quick to maps, and I'll show you how to do some quick searches. So let's just grab something and say if we were looking for a duplicate or whatever, how we would do this. So duplicates. So a couple first. So I always like to do my searches in maps, and I just start typing. So let's just do the Make My Business Boom example. You just start typing your business name in here, and you'll start seeing your listings pop up. I know I don't have a duplicate here, but if you did, you might start seeing them pop up this way. Another way, let's look at this, right? So here's Make My Business Boom. Let me make sure I'm in the right building. What's this? What's this one? So I'm just trying to locate where I'm actually at. Let me do it this way. So I'll show you another way. Okay, so it is the right. Okay, One Center Square. So if I was looking for possum issues, new competing listings, another thing I would do, I get my address pulled up here like this, zoom way into it, right? And there you see little iRanks start popping up, right? But what we'll do is start looking for businesses here. So let's just say internet marketing service at, and literally just put it right in front, search. You can see this takes the map pack when you do that. Start taking this apart. See what else happens. Here we go. Oops, it's going to shoot me way far away for some reason. There's a couple different ways you want to do these searches, but I always like to start looking at keywords here, and then I want to start getting in closer. Right. You can see that iRank listing isn't popping up, which is interesting. It should, but it didn't when I did that. Let's look at, sometimes you get rid of the at, and you just want to start doing, so here's another one. You can see another listing there. So you can see the different searches we do, which I don't know why the map keeps resetting, possibly something with this update. But you can see this listing there's other competing listings very, very close to it. So what's this one? This is interesting. All right, let's just go back. SEO. So there's the same. Let's look at this web design. So you just literally start, whoops, I spelled it wrong. Let's just go back to this. Let's zoom in. I'll show you another way to search here. So another thing you do, search nearby. So it's going to search nearby, and then what I like to do again, run through some of your keyword searches. See what it shows you. Sometimes it gives you some different here. So here's the I rank again. Where are these people at? But right, but you can now you found this one. We can also do right. Here's this other one. Here's this one. They're further away, but it starts showing you your competitors that are right close. Let's do another one. But this is what you want to do when you're looking for possum issues and duplicates and things like that, is you need to do multiple searches, both with the address in here, with your keywords up there, and then when you just go and search nearby as well, with multiple different keywords, doing local searches like that. So understanding how to do these type of searches, super important if you think you got filtered by this last update, or I mean, it's super important anyway if you're doing local SEO, because possum and filtering is super, it's probably one of the biggest things we're seeing. If you uncheck that, you don't see the dumb routes. But anyway, you get an idea as to what you need to do to figure that out. So hopefully this video helps you with this last update. I'm Chaz. Drop me a message if you have any questions. Thanks.